Bonjour. We'll start with lesson 5 now. In this particular chapter, we'll cover the definite articles, the verb avoir, and the numbers from 21 to 100. First, we will start with the comprehension and I will explain the questions to you. So, the comprehension, the title is La chambre de Ellen, the room of Ellen. I have a big room. In my room, there is a bed, a cupboard, a lamp, a wall clock, some balls, a painting, etc. The bed is big, but the cupboard is small. The lamp and the painting are very pretty or beautiful. It's a beautiful room. I like my room. Now you see in the comprehension, if it's written une grande chambre, that means chambre is feminine. Une. So please start noticing these things. A lit, a bed. So it's written a, that means it is masculine. Une armoire, it's written une, that means it is feminine. Une lampe again, it's une, so it is feminine. Une horloge, again it is feminine. Des ballons. Now looking at des ballons, you can't make out whether it's masculine or feminine because the plural of both a and une becomes des. So actually it's a masculine noun, the singular form is a ballon. Une peinture, which is again feminine. Now if you notice, when they have described the lamp and the painting, la lampe et la peinture sont très belles. Now if you look at, they are describing two pictures. Both these pictures are feminine, the lamp and the painting. That's why belle, the adjective belle is feminine plural. So start noticing these things in the textbook when you are reading your comprehension or solving your exercises. The usage of adjectives will give you a clue as to whether the noun is masculine or feminine. Now look at the questions which are followed. Dites vrai ou faux. Okay, vrai is true, faux is false. And écrivez les contraires, write the opposites. You are supposed to find these answers from the comprehension itself. Now they have asked you to write the opposite of laide. It's L-A-I-D-E. This is the feminine singular form. So opposite of laide, which is ugly, is beautiful. So your answer should be belle, B-E-L-L-E. Now mauvais. Mauvais means bad. Now it is a masculine singular form. So opposite will also have to be in the masculine singular form. So in this case it is bon, B-O-N. Grand, which is feminine singular in this case. So the opposite would also have to be in feminine singular. So the opposite of grand is petite, P-E-T-I-T-E. We will now learn the conjugation of the verb avoir, which means to have. This is again an irregular verb and you will have to memorize the conjugation. There is no other shortcut. It means to have in English. Now, avoir, with je it is AI, tu AS, il A, L A, with nous it is AVONS, vous is AVEZ, il is ONT, L is ONT. Now if you see, the conjugation is AI for je. There are two vowels together. Now this rule only applies with je. So if there are two vowels together, we will drop this E and make it J apostrophe. So it becomes J. You will pronounce it as if it is one word. This rule applies only with je. I mean, you may point out that even this are two vowels together, but this remains as it is. This rule only applies with je. So whenever you conjugate a verb and that conjugation starts with a vowel in case of je, J will always become J apostrophe. So the pronunciation is J, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Because this is followed by a vowel, I will pronounce it as if it is one word. So the pronunciation for this is ils ont, elles ont. Now, if you remember, the conjugation of the verb être with il and elle was sont, S-O-N-T. So in that case, my pronunciation is ils sont, elles sont. In this case, it is ils ont, elles ont. I will once again repeat the pronunciation for avoir. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Now, if I have to say I have a book or I have a pencil or I have a pen, how will I say it? J'ai un stylo. For example, I have a pen. Now, if you remember, we did this in lesson 2. When I have to tell my age, this is how I had written it. J'ai 10 ans. I am 10 years. But you will point out that the meaning of j'ai is I have. So in English, we say I am 10 years. But when we are writing it in French, you will not conjugate it with être, you will conjugate it with avoir. There is no reason or logic behind this. This is the rule. You have to memorize it. So age in French is conjugated with avoir and not être. So this is the correct form of writing your age. If you write je suis 10 ans, this is wrong. You will not use the verb être, you will use the verb avoir. This is extremely crucial and important. Please do not forget this point. Age in French is conjugated with avoir and not être. Another important topic that we will learn today is les articles définis, which is the definite article. This translates into the in English. So let's see. In French, it is le, la, l'apostrophe and les. Now, when do we use le? When do we use la? When do we use l'apostrophe and when do we use les? All of these translate into the in English. In front of masculine singular nouns, we will use le. So, if you remember, livre was masculine singular. So, in this case, if I have to write the book, I will write le livre. The pen, pen again is masculine singular, le stylo. Now let's look at la. La is in case of feminine singular nouns. So for example, maison, which is a house, it is feminine. So la maison, the house. La fille, the girl. Now, any noun starting with a vowel or H, it doesn't matter whether it's masculine or feminine. As long as it starts with a vowel or H, we will use L apostrophe. So, for example, l'école, école, which means a school, it's a feminine singular noun, but because it starts with an E, which is a vowel, we will use L apostrophe. So, it will become like this, l'école, the school. For example, man. This is of masculine singular noun. Long, plane, l'avion. Again, this is a masculine singular noun, but all of these start with a vowel. We will use L apostrophe. Le is for masculine singular, la is for feminine singular, L apostrophe is for any singular noun starting with a vowel or H. It doesn't matter whether it's masculine or feminine. As long as it starts with a vowel and it's singular, it will be L apostrophe. The plural of all of these is les. So, le livre will become les livres. The book, the books. Le stylo, les stylos with an S. La maison will become les maisons with an S. La fille will become les filles with an S. L'école will become les écoles with an S. L'homme will become les hommes, H-O-M-M-E-S, and l'avion will become les avions. Once again, le is for masculine singular noun, la is for feminine singular noun, L apostrophe is for any singular noun starting with a vowel or H, and les is for any noun in its plural form. So, all of these three will become les in its plural form. The pronunciation is le and not les. Le, la, L apostrophe, les. Le, les. Let's take some more examples. If you remember, we had done this word, nez, which means a nose. Le bus, which is a bus. Le croix, which is a cross. Let's make the plural of le nez. So, le will become les and nez will remain as it is because it is ending with a Z in its singular form. Le bus will become les bus. It remains the same because in its singular form it is ending with an S. Le croix will become les croix. It remains the same. So, the rule that we had learned that nouns ending with S, X and Z in its singular form will remain the same in its plural form applies here also. In the exam, they can give you questions like convert from definite to indefinite. So, for example, let's say they have given you the word la maison, the house. Now, if you have to convert this from definite to indefinite article, your indefinite articles are a, une and they. So, this is la maison, that means it is feminine singular. So, the corresponding feminine singular and indefinite article is une. So, this will become une maison. For example, le stylo, the pen. This is masculine singular. The corresponding article is un stylo, the pen to a pen. L'école. Now, just by looking at L apostrophe, you can't make out whether this noun is masculine or feminine. You have to memorize it. In this case, école is feminine. So, this will become une école. If, for example, if it was l'avion, which is a plane, avion is masculine singular, this will become un avion. Another example, let's say les livres, the books, we have to convert this into some books. Les will become they and livre will be as it is. The books to some books. Les livres will become des livres. The books will become some books. Now, let's look at the other way around, changing from indefinite article to definite article. So, let's say une horloge, which is a wall clock. Now, this is feminine singular, but this is starting with a vowel. So, this will be L apostrophe horloge. So this is l'horloge. Another example would be, let's take un gomme, which is an eraser. This is feminine singular, so your answer would be la gomme. Des pommes, some apples. They will change to les pommes. In the textbook, where they have explained you the definite articles, they've given you certain points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's look at the fifth point. No article is used before names of persons and names of profession after the verb être. What does this mean? So, for example, if I am introducing someone, let's say Riddhi. This is Riddhi. This is a proper noun. In English also, in front of proper nouns, we do not use an article. We don't say this is the Riddhi. Say Riddhi. L.A. professor. Now, if I have to translate this in English, it would be she is a professor. So, I am using the article a, which is indefinite. But in French, whenever we are talking about the name of a person or profession, we do not use any article. Even though it translates into she is a professor, we will not use any article. L.A. professor. That's it. No article is used in front of proper names and professions if the verb is être in the sentence. One of the most common confusions in French is when do we use the definite article and when do we use the indefinite article. Well, the simple answer is it all depends on the context, but also let's say if you're talking about something specific, you will use definite article. When you're talking about something in general, you will use indefinite article. However, there could be certain instances where both the options are correct. So, that's why I said it all depends on the context. So, for example, if I have to say, this is dash pen. Now, which sounds better? I am talking about something in general. It's nothing specific. So, this is the pen or this is a pen. A pen sounds better and I am not talking about something specific. So, a stylo. But let's say I am saying this is the pen of Riddhi. Now I am being more specific that this particular pen belongs to Riddhi. So, this is a pen of Riddhi or this is the pen of Riddhi. The pen sounds better. So, your answer is L. So, whenever you are talking about something specific, you will use your definite article, and something in general, something you are not defining, something which is not specific, you will use indefinite article. Let's take one more example. These are dash apples. These are some apples or these are the apples. Some apples sounds better. You're not talking about something specific, talking about apples in general. So, indefinite article. Because it is plural, ce sont, so they. Pomme is with an S, so it has to be in the plural form. Now, let's say these are apples of Amir. Now because Amir, the proper noun is starting with a vowel, instead of DE, I will write D apostrophe. It means of. So if the proper noun is starting with a vowel, this DE becomes D apostrophe. So these are the apples of Amir, or these are some apples of Amir. These are the apples of Amir sounds better, and you are anyways talking something which is very specific. So your answer would be Le. Till now we have learned numbers from 0 to 20. Now in this chapter we will learn the numbers from 21 to 100. You have to memorize the numbers. Now if you notice 21, 31, 41, 51, 61, they are all like this. So 20 is 1 at a and 1, 20 and 1. 31 would be 30 and 1, and similarly it would be 41, 51, 61. 22 would be Vada. 22. 32 would be Tron, the. So you have to memorize basically 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You have to memorize the words for that. Then it is the, trois, quatre, cinq, which is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your 21 is 1, 30 is trente, 40 is quarante, 50 is cinquante, 60 is soixante. Now 70. In French, 70 is 60 plus 10. So it becomes soixante dix. So soixante dix. 71 would be soixante et onze. 60 plus 11. Similarly, 72 is 60 plus 12. So soixante douze, soixante treize, soixante quatorze, soixante quinze, 60 plus 13, 60 plus 14, 60 plus 15. 80 in French is 4 into 20. So 4 is quatre, 20 is 1. Now 20 is VINGT, but when we are writing 80, at that time this 20 will have an S. Okay, but for the remaining numbers to 81, 82, 83, so for example 81 is quatre. Now we will not write ET here. For all other 21s, 31s, 41s, 51s, 61, 71, we used to write ET and. But for 81 we will not write. For 81 it would be quatre vingt un. There will not be an S. It will go back to its original spelling of 20. So 82 would be quatre vingt deux. And this is how you will be writing 82 and so on and so forth. Let's look at 90 now. So 90 in French is essentially 4 times 20, which is your 80, plus 10. So quatre vingt dix. 91 would be quatre vingt onze. Now this 20 will not have an S. The only time the spelling of 20 will have an S is when you write 80. Quatre vingt with an S. That is the only exception. So when you have written 91, which is 4 times 80 plus 11, again there will not be any et. Et means and in French. I will write it here. A. The pronunciation is A and it means and in French. And your 100 is 100. This is 100. You have to memorize these numbers. Now, one of the most common confusions among students is when do we use être and when do we use avoir? Être means to be, avoir means to have. So, for example, let's say you have a sentence, je dash Indien. I have Indian or I am Indian. Which sounds better? Of course, I am Indian. Now, I am is the conjugation of the verb être. So, with je, it would be suis. Now, let's say tu dash un stylo. You are a pen or you have a pen, which makes more sense. You have a pen. So, to have is the verb avoir. So, the conjugation with tu would be as. Sir dash some papers. These are some papers. Are is the conjugation of the verb être. Okay. So, you will have to know, if you don't know the meaning of the vocabulary, you will not be able to understand the sentence and you will not be able to solve it in the context. Let's look at some more examples. Je dash professeur je dash des livres. So, I am a professor, I am être. I have some books. It can't be I am some books. And anyways, the clue is if it is J apostrophe, in case of the conjugation of être, we don't do it. We only do it with avoir. So, by default, you are getting the cue that it is AI. Let's look at one more example. L dash gross, fat. She dash some sweets. She is fat or she has fat? She is fat. So, the conjugation would be être. The corresponding conjugation for L is est. She is some sweets or she has some sweets? She has some sweets. So, has is the conjugation of the verb avoir. The corresponding conjugation for L is a. So, elle a des bonbons. Elle est grosse. Let's look at one more example. Vous dash grand. You are tall or you have tall, which makes more sense. You are tall. So, the conjugation of the verb vous with être is E circumflex TES. Vous êtes grand. You dash a car. You are a car or you have a car? You have a car. So, avoir. The conjugation with vous would be avez. Vous avez une voiture. So, see, it is extremely essential to memorize your vocabulary, to understand what the sentence is trying to tell you and accordingly pick between être and avoir. It is extremely important that you memorize the conjugation of the verb être and avoir and learn to differentiate between the two. One last example, if it is the age that we are talking about, he dash 13 years. So even though the translation in English is he is 13 years, but we did this, if we are talking about age, you will always conjugate it with avoir. You will never ever use être. So avoir with il is a. So il a 13 ans. Please memorize the conjugation and the vocabulary well in order to understand and do these exercises well. We will now just go through some important words. These are generally prepositions and conjunctions, but they will help you in understanding the comprehension and the grammar questions better. So, pour means for, et means and, ou is or, and ou gra u is where. The means of or from both. Now, in case if you write of Riddhi, it is the, de, Riddhi. But if the proper noun, for example, Amir, starts with a vowel, then it will become d apostrophe. Mais means but, avec is with, dans is in or inside, sur is on, toi means you in the informal way, moi means me, en means in or at. This is generally used before feminine countries. So if you want to indicate that you stay in India, then you will not use dans, D-A-N-S, you will use en. So j'habite en Inde or j'habite en France. So in front of feminine countries, you will use en to indicate that you stay in that particular country. Now one of the questions that you will generally get in your grammar section is retrouver les phrases. In this particular one, they would have jumbled up the words and you have to frame the correct sentence. What is essential in this case is that you know your vocabulary well and you have gone through the textbook really well. Now, for example, you know how do you say your name? Je m'appelle Riddhi. So now let's look at the first example. Sophie /elle s'appelle. So you know this is they are trying to tell you somebody's name. So always identify the pronoun or the noun. So in this case it would be elle because elle s'appelle Sophie. The first word would generally either be a pronoun or noun which will always be followed by a verb. So elle s'appelle Sophie. Look at the next one. Va, sa, como. So you know this is the question como ça va? Meaning how are you? So if you've gone through your vocabulary well, you will be able to identify it. So your correct answer would be como ça va. Let's look at the next one. Âge, avez-vous, quel? Now when you look at âge, you know they are trying, the question would be something to do with asking the age. So if again you've memorized your vocabulary well, you know how do we ask somebody their age in a formal way. Quel âge avez-vous? This question could also have been informal. Then in that case, it would have been quel âge as-tu? So instead of avez-vous, in the jumble sentences, somewhere they would have written as-tu. So your answer would have been quel âge as-tu? Now let's look at the next one. Habite en je France. Now identify the verb and identify the corresponding pronoun or the noun for it. So it is habite, which means to stay or live. And France is a country. So je is your pronoun. So j'habite en France. We just learned previously that en is used in front of feminine countries. So instead of France, if it was and, which is India, your sentence would have been j'habite en France. Now let's look at the next example. These a, je, toi, en. So if you see a number and then you see the word en, ans, that means you're trying to ask somebody their age. So your answer would be j'ai 10 ans et toi. We just learned what does tua mean, which is you, and eta is and. So I am 10 years and you. Next one, son, sir, robe, they. Now we have done this structure before. So whenever we were making sentences plural from say, C apostrophe est to ce sont, so this is that structure. So your sentence will start with ce sont, then will come your indefinite article, which is they, and then the noun, which is robe. Ce sont des robes. Qui est? So that is the question. Who is it? So your jumbled words are a hyphen se, qui. If you have memorized your vocabulary well, you will be able to identify it. Qui est? The next one is se, que, a, se, que. Again, if you have memorized your vocabulary well, you would know the question is qu'est-ce que c'est? So please learn to identify and memorize these statements well. The next one is petite, fille, sont, les. Now identify the verb and the noun. So the noun is fille. In front of a noun there will always be an article. So in this case it is les. So les filles, then comes the verb sont and then petite. So the girls are small. And last example, un garçon grand et C apostrophe. So you know this is the structure, c'est un grand garçon. The adjective will come before the noun. So you will start your statement with say, C apostrophe est, you will put your indefinite article, your adjective, and then your noun.